Welcome back to TEYARA SMP, a TNP Limitless 7 series, and I had to take a bit of a break over the holidays, but we are back. I've definitely gotten over what was ailing me, and I've also been doing some good reading. I started The Three Body Problem, and it's really freaking fantastic, and I cannot recommend it enough. Let's see, before we get into today's video, there's a lot of stuff that I've been meaning to do, one of which is unwrap these 5 presents from Corral Tombstone. We actually had, Tombstone, I've been playing too much Final Fantasy XIV. I had a 6th one from Christmas, because there's like, you deliver a present, and all of a sudden, you also get a present for you that's supposed to unlock on the 25th. And you're supposed to do something, except I think I took too long to do the thing to open the chest, or, the gift, and it expired. So we're going to open these 5. Then we're also going to get into our quests and finally open up some of those rewards too, because we've been doing a lot of stuff since last time. Let me take these torches out of my hands so I don't accidentally place more. Right, it's just automatically putting them in my hand, and we just got a bunch of enchantment books. 3 soulbound, though. That's pretty amazing, and honestly, I think I'm gonna put soulbound on this ring of jumping, because since the last time, you guys, I've died a couple of times. I accidentally triggered a raid on a village, like, far to the south, and unfortunately, most of that village is gone. There's like 2 villagers left, maybe 3 tops, and it says there are still raiders there last I checked, but they're not, or I can't find them. Anyway, the TLDR is I died a couple of times, and I really could have used this ring of jumping to get back in a faster manner, so I think I might put soulbound on that. I think I might put soulbound on, like, I guess my backpack too, if it'll let me, because then I can start putting some useful stuff in here as opposed to just holding onto the things that I've been holding on to. But anyway, whole bunch of books. Let's take a look at our quest progress. You can see we've done a bunch of stuff in vanilla. We've finally gotten obsidian, astonishingly enough. I didn't have that before. A bunch of nether-related stuff, end stuff. We got some honey for something that's going to happen in the 2nd segment of this episode. Let's see, we also did some more nether stuff, got blaze rods. Oh yeah, that's right. So honey also triggers productive bees stuff, because that's a mod. We didn't really do anything more on mystical agriculture, I don't think, but I just haven't claimed that yet. Silence gear. I have actually done some more stuff with silence gear, I believe. We got some raw crimson in the nether the second to last time I was there. We've done a whole bunch of sophisticated storage stuff, which you're gonna definitely see very shortly, and I think that's all of the achievements we've gotten since last time, so let's go ahead and collect all those rewards. Sheesh, that's a lot of XP. A bee spawn egg, I'm gonna have to hold on to that for a while, and a bunch of other stuff. Gonna have to open that loot bundle. I must have accidentally gotten something just there, opening the stuff. Let's open this bundle, and then we'll get on with the rest of this episode. A bomb, a packager from Cyclic, interesting, and a watering can, which I think, I could be wrong, I think reinforced watering cans can be used in automatic machines. Otherwise, default watering cans break, but that should help us when we get to some plant-based stuff. And before we get into the meat of today, which is going to be improving the mineshaft, I also changed the gate a little bit. So before I had it so that it only placed when the anchor is destroyed, and the anchor is going to be our, piston down below. But the problem with that is the gate was still an entity when it was in the down position, and so sometimes you'd get wandering traders that would either get stuck on this side or on this side of the gate, and basically entities can't walk across this like a player can. So I just made it so that it places it when it's stationary, so now it's physical when it's here and when it's in the up position. But the one problem, or the one thing I don't like about this, is if we do this, we'll very temporarily see a flash when this turns back into a solid block, like that. So I'm on the fence. Please let me know if you prefer it as, always an entity, or if turning into a solid block, it makes sense. It's something that's rarely going to happen, so I think I'm fine with either. But that's where we're at today. Now let's get into the mineshaft improvements. Starting with, you can obviously see that I've added some rail line stuff, and I meant to grab minecarts. Alrighty, we are here at our next point of interest today, where I have laid out an initial test of what I want to do with my minecart tracks, and basically, at every level, with the exception of the topmost level and the bottommost level, because the topmost level is going to be my storage and the rest of that automation, and my bottommost level is at bedrock, so this design is going to need a little bit of work, and it also needs to be different just because, well, I'm going to be doing different things with Ember's automation down there as well, and hopefully by the end of the video we'll get to that, but this is what it's going to look like on every 10 Y levels, because if you picture this, we're going to mine out like a large, I think it might be 5x5 kind of section, just going forward this way, and then I'm going to, as I mine, I'm just going to carry a whole bunch of rail with me, and I don't have one in my inventory right now, but I would carry along a bunch of chest minecarts, and then as I'm mining, I can just put the stuff in the chest minecarts, then push the carts back to these junctions, and we can talk about some of the other stuff that's going on. But then, in the, I think this is the Z direction? Yes, it is. We also have a couple more rail lines going, one of which obviously is, going downhill, and the other which is obviously going uphill. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that if, you know what, let's go up to the top real quick. If I ride this down, we're currently on a powered rail of speed 15, then these slow me down to 2, and 2 is necessary because the cart won't have enough momentum to cross this gap if it's 1. And then you just get off at the floor that you want, and the cart speeds on down to the next level, and so on and so forth, until eventually it reaches the bottom, and then loops back around, and then comes back up. And then, naturally, if you're going to be mining on one level, you're going to need to bring 2 carts, one to just let travel off, or you're going to need to pick it up really quick, because you could do that, but I'm lazy, so I'm going to bring 2 mine carts instead and waste my inventory space. And then it'll get to the bottom, loop around, and then go all the way back up and get into the system that we're going to go over next. But now, as I'm mining along, picture that we have our 5x5, we have our rail tracks that we're laying out, and now my chest is full. So I'm just going to manually push this over in this direction until we get to this track, we flip the lever, and now all of a sudden we can send it off and up. And naturally, the same applies on this side. And this is done using a couple of very cool modded tracks. Now, naturally, the controller rails are from Create. That is what allows us to get these variable speeds. You can achieve a variable speed effect with redstone pulses in purely vanilla, but A, that's going to be extra laggy compared to what we're doing here, and B, this allows us more fine control over the slow rate or whatever, because we came from 15 to 10 to 6 to 2. And the 2 was determined experimentally because, as I said, 1 is not enough to cross this gap without somebody inside moving forward. So that, that's the downhill slide, and then the uphill side, obviously it's just controller rails 15, and I basically wanted that so that things can't go backwards, at least not intentionally. And we also have these framed powered block rail slopes that I think is going to look just a little bit nicer on the stairs. Yes, we lose the directionality of the controller rail, but that's okay because the worst thing that could possibly happen is that it comes back down, hits this controller rail, and then starts heading back up. So that's why I'm fine with the slopes themselves being oriented like this, because we're going to have some unidirectional up at the top and bottoms of each. And then we have 2 different mods to accomplish these junctions on this side. We have the switch rail from Riddle Logistics, and I do have my wrench with me, so we're just going to go ahead and switch this one around. No, normally they spawn directionally, I think, or they're placed directionally, so if I'm facing this way, this is how it would look. You can use the wrench to flip the sides, and this is exactly what we want. And then over here, same thing. It actually naturally has the direction pointed this way, so I'm pretty sure it's all directional and you can just flip with the wrench. I'm blathering. Now the next thing is the crossover rail from Thermal Series, and there are actually a couple of crossover rail types in this pack, I believe, but this is the one that I went with because it looked most like an actual crossover rail, I think, and that even kind of bears out aesthetically, and it's just really cool to watch. Now we're going to come up here to get into the second part. And this is actually the second time that I'm filming this because I wasn't pleased with how the first time came out. So, we have revamped our storage system. We actually have a storage system now. But, so the idea is that once you send a chest minecart up, it's going to come up here, it's going to round the bend, all of this stuff is going to be cleared out, it's going to go through here, line up here, and just so we have an example of what's going to happen, and let me just double check that this is not quite full. It's not quite full. We have some of the materials that are in our storage drawers, so I'm just going to go ahead and put them in. And let me just double check. I do have enough empty space, so that's perfectly fine. And give the minecart with a chest a push. And now what is happening here is that we have hoppers under these rails, and unfortunately hoppers are like the only way you can extract from a chest minecart. And so, what I figured out for a mechanism, because I didn't want any kind of vanilla sloped hill kind of mechanism where you use a piston to hold it in place until it's done unloading, and then you retract it, and then it flies off. No, we have a couple of hoppers here, and so what that'll do is it'll start taking items out at a slow enough rate that they'll get over to this corner one. Is that where I've got my comparator? Yes, it is. So it'll get over to this corner one, where the comparator will start picking up the pulses of the items flowing through and into the smart chute. Then we have a redstone repeater with delay 4 to smooth the signal out, and then we have this torch. So when this is on, obviously the torch turns off and the rail stops, leaving the chest cart on this high throughput hopper. And so any other items that are in the chest will go into this high throughput hopper, into the regular hopper, and then be immediately extracted with the smart chute, and then into this create belt. Now the reason we're using a create belt is because we have 3 different funnels that this can go into. We have this one, which is filtered such that we can take out items that do not stack, and we also have is not in group tools and utilities, because we don't want to accidentally be picking up any spare minecarts in this position, because we have the spare minecarts in a storage drawer over there that's linked up to the system. So that's why we have that in an AND condition, so that equipment and the like, or non-stackable items like enchanted books as well, will come up into here. And let's take out the linking tool because we're probably going to want it. But then it'll flow along to the next funnel, and the next funnel is hooked up to our storage controller. And this is where the linking thing is going to work out. Because we have the storage controller, we have our 2 storage walls, we have a controller access point, which effectively lets me deposit items wirelessly just by double right-clicking on it, and, you know, it'll deposit anything that's already in the system because we've got it all filled up. And then we, of course, have our 2 minecart storage things down in here, and we have another controller access point for a thing that I'll get to very shortly. So, once it goes past that, oh, I didn't mean to come down here, but that's okay. Once it gets past this funnel, which is acting like its own filter on the entirety of the storage drawers network, just because items that aren't in the network can't get in, then it goes to the last funnel, which comes up to this last spruce iron barrel, and is really just for stuff that, like, I don't necessarily have storage for, but is still something that could show up in the mine, like... there are no good examples here. No, yeah, pretty much everything that can show up. Maybe the smooth basalt. I think smooth basalt can still show up in the mine, potentially. Pebbles. Pebbles are a great example. Those can definitely show up in the mine, and will end up in this chest, or barrel. And it's iron right now. I'm kind of at a gold shortage, which is going to make this last component that we're hopefully going to get into a little bit trickier, but these can be upgraded to netherite, I think. So the problem is I need a gold upgrade, then a diamond upgrade, and then a netherite upgrade, and that's just all very progressive stuff that I don't need to do right now, because there's theoretically enough storage once I get rid of all the junk that's currently in there. And then the last thing is, originally I had a couple of vanilla-style dropper elevators, which made use of a comparator into a modded clock, actually. And then, it would tick off the dropper, which would send it up into the barrel. But then I found these uppers, it's literally just the recipe is a hopper crafted in and of it or by itself. And then it just turns it upside down, and you can send items upward using hoppers. It's really cheap. And it's also going to be a lot less laggy and time-consuming, I think, than a regular dropper Vader. Now, also, when I originally set this thing up, it was a bit of a redstone conundrum because I was still in the mood of I need a timer in order to allow empty minecarts to pass, like passenger minecarts that don't have inventories. I didn't want them getting stuck here and not having an inventory to detect, which is why I didn't end up using a comparator and a detector rail. And also, detector rails, if they're adjacent to rails like this, they emit a signal of 15, and that was basically meaning that the cart would get to the detector rail, it would start to slide over to the next rail, and then zoom off before it was done. Ideally, I would love to be able to replace these with the gold hoppers as well, because those extract stacks at a time, much like these smart chutes. But for now, just having it in this position is really economical and still allows the same effect. And then lastly, before I move on to the final component of this thing and maybe talk about what we have stored, is that if, for whatever reason, the cart managed to empty out on these 3 tracks, then it might end up waiting here just a little bit while the hoppers empty out, but then it'll just zoom along. Like, inductively, there is no way that I can accidentally miss an item if a cart with inventory comes on here. It's really quite nice. Not the most, ingenious solution, but for my limited knowledge, it does the job. Then, the cart rushes off in this direction, and this is a cool little bit of technology that I wasn't aware of, but it's existed since 1.16.5, and basically, what we have here, honey block, below that's a hopper, and then another honey block, below that's a fire, and below that's a netherrack to light the fire, and what happens is, when the cart comes along and falls into this honey block, the hitboxes of the honey blocks are small enough that the cart touches the fire and breaks. But unlike the cactus, it doesn't go into the fire. The hitbox is large enough that, it can't slip in there. But because it's small enough down here, it just goes straight into the hopper. It's, as far as I'm aware, 100% lossless minecarts. And so then it goes into the hopper, and as we mentioned before, we have another controller access point here. So wirelessly, we just send them straight back up here. It's quite nice. I think there's a wandering trader that's getting suffocated. Ugh. Let's forget that just happened and go over our storage real quick. So I've got a whole bunch of the raw ores here because around the corner, I'm planning on knocking out part of this wall and having just a path that leads up into our forge area, which is going to be a combination of embers, create, and immersive engineering. And so I wanted all of the raw ore here. It could have potentially been, silk touched, but I don't have silk touch yet, so I'm okay with just being raw ores. We have, the 3 most important ones, the vanilla ones, copper, iron, and gold. Naturally, we have tin, zinc, and silver. Zinc is also really important for create. Then we have lead, bauxite, redstone dust, also very important, coal, osmium, and nickel. And osmium has also been really good for this because there is a recipe in this pack that is 6 osmium ingots makes 24 rails, and a stick, obviously, which is much more economical than using iron for rails, as long as, I can get away with that. So that's really nice. We also have some of the, well, I say less important stuff, but stuff that doesn't really need to be compacted just because it's kind of rare. So we've got thorium from Create New Age, and I'm theoretically going to be using that in some of my boiler setups later in the series, at least in this dimension in the series. Then we've got Cinnabar, which can be used for a bunch of different things, but I think is mostly going to be useful in thermal expansion, I think, because it can be used as a catalyst in the induction smelter or something like that. Then we have Lapis Lazuli, Emerald, Redstone Block, or Raw Redstone Block, which is a biome thing, Pointed Redstone, Redstone Bulb, and Raw Uraninite. Huh. And so that's going to be useful in one of the nuclear power mods, but I don't remember which one. And you'll also notice that we've got these simple compacting drawers, so that means that we can theoretically store more of these things, because the storage is based upon, I want to say, the compacted form of the block, and these also only have, one stage of compaction because they're, ores of various types, and, well, redstone, naturally. I could theoretically do the same with emerald, lapis, maybe cinnabar, and I think that might be it. I don't think thorium stacks, but moving straight along. Now these, I noticed there are a whole bunch of multi-compacted stone variants, so I'm not going to go ahead and name them all, but those can actually make use of the traditional 3 compression drawers. And of course also diamonds, which in this pack has diamond shards, which means that it's actually worth it to store it in this kind of a drawer, because you never know when you're going to need a diamond shard as opposed to a full-on diamond. Now, we also have Inferium Essence from Mystical Agriculture. I believe also Prosperity Shards are from that as well. Then we have Rhyolite, which is from Twigs. It's just a very pretty block that comes up a lot in the mine, so it's okay to have it as its own single storage. Darkstone, which is from one of the Arcane mods. And then the Expetrified Orb, which I'm pretty sure can be used to craft some unbreaking stuff, and I mean 100% unbreaking, like does not consume durability style items. So this might be useful down the line if I'm remembering correctly. We also have Salamoniac, which is from one of the magic mods, Dimensional Shard, which I believe is dimensional storage, and potentially something that I'm going to get into down the road in the future. Then the Inert Crystal, which I don't quite remember. That might be another Dimensional Pockets mod thing, but that is the entirety of our storage solution for right this moment. Obviously, we still have a chest monster kind of thing going on, and what I'm hoping is that when I build up the upstairs area, I'll move some of this, like, other stuff up into there, into, various, probably not barrels, but maybe storage drawers, maybe these upgraded barrels, upgradable chests, etc. I really need to work on this, but that's okay. Now, and this is a pretty big if I manage to get enough gold and plan out the last segment, we're going all the way down to bedrock. In this last part of the video, I figured I'd go ahead and give sort of an overview of what's happened since, the last time I gave one of these synopses. And the first off, obviously, you can see that I've got some fancy duds. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Z fighting going on between the modded things, but you can see that we've got this Bingzap's Ritualistic Lapis Lazuli, Close Helm of the Intelligent. Is it Lazuli or is it Lazuli? I'm never sure to pronounce that, but anyway. So I got that off of a boss. This, I think I also got off of a boss. It's a Ritualistic Warlock's Cloak of the Wizard. It looks pretty dang cool. Both of these have really good armor. We also have Lothrazar's Windswept Steel Cuisses of the Fast Wit. And, we've also got some magic armor now, thanks to these 3 items, and a lot of other really good stats that, I can't take full advantage of just yet, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to add mending to them because, they don't naturally mend. Oh, except this one, which has Nature's Mend, and I'm gonna have to look that up. But we also have these gold boots that we've had for a while. It's got Life Mending 3, which means that instead of healing hearts, my hunger will heal up this durability first, and then start to heal my hearts. So if I take durability damage, whoa, that was a little weird. Must be because I'm in F5. But while we're out here, we'll get to that shortly. You can see that I've got my dog has a name now from one of the first bosses that I killed. It was just it was a skeleton inside of a building, strangely enough, but I just decided I'd call my dog Brog the Bulwark. My cat is the one that I gave the name Bingzap the Shiny, which is the boss that I defeated for the helmet? Yeah, for the helmet that I'm wearing. And, Bingzap the Shiny, it's a cute name, right? Like, on a cat, I think. And also, specific bosses will drop name tags that have colors applied to them already, so that's why Bingzap the Shiny is green. We also have our chocobos out here. I'm going to do that shortly. My very first one, I believe, is over here. I think this is Yuffie. This is Yuffie. I have started replacing some of the oak logs with, like, I've got an oak nest from just growing trees and carpenter bees moving into them. Moving on to this here, we have 4 spruce nests. There should be 2 bees in them right now. You know, these 2 also had bees in them, but like bees do in Minecraft, they tend to do entity drift or AI drift or something like that, and therefore that they're gone. I'm pretty sure those bees are gone. Oh, and the rest of my chocobos, Honeyed Archer, that was also a boss. That was interesting. It was a skeleton riding a bee, and so I figured that's fitting for a chocobo. We have Fury, whose name is the same, and I think I need to give you some food, Fury, because you're looking a little low. And then Lady, which also was its default name. Now, Fury, I think, has a special ability, thus the colorful feathers, or plumage, I should say. And I'm looking forward to getting into Chocobo Craft at some point in time in the near future. But let's go on in. You can see that we're growing a ton of spruce for reasons. But let's go on in to the mines, which have noticeably cleared up. And because we're nearing nighttime, I'm just going to go ahead and close the gate. So the first thing you can see immediately is that my chest monster is gone. I have predominantly consolidated it into these modded barrels, and I'm going to be upgrading the storage capacity of those over time. We also, still have a couple of chests of stuff that I'm, going to consolidate into here as we get up to the higher tiers. But, right now, gold is kind of a luxury. Iron is fairly straightforward to get still. But then if I turn around, you can see that we've completed our rail line a little bit. We've got a buffer stop here at the end for both decoration and to, get things rolling a little bit. Actually, no, this is a controller rail. It'll just roll in this direction anyway. But still, decoration! We've closed our loop here, so now we actually have a line that comes up from below and into our storage area. And I have, well, A, I've patched up the floor, but B, I've added some more storage because I forgot about mining dimensions. Mining dimensions exist, and I'm not going to be doing anything special with them inside the mining dimension until our future plans work. But for those of you who are not familiar with just another mining dimension, or as I call it, JAMD, we have, just a couple of portal blocks, 3 to be specific, 1 for the overworld, 1 for the nether, and 1 that's going to be for the end, that's going to be in this corner. But just to give you a taste of that, we're going to, I was thinking of jumping on top of it, but that's not necessary. We just click on the side. And here we are. It's a perfectly flat dimension. It starts at y equals 64. I don't know if it goes all the way down to y equals negative 63 or not, but you can see there's so much surface ore that what I've just been doing very lazily is just going along and mining the stuff off the surface. And eventually in the future, I'm going to set up some quarries and stuff, but that's going to tie into our lore. Now, originally I had these as part of the pillars that were up here. Interesting. I don't know why. Oh, I've just realized that I'm missing torches here, and that's why it's darker in this corner. That makes sense. But, so, I first had this as part of the pillar, but the thing with the JAMD portals is that when you right-click them, they put them on top, or they put you on top of them. So, I needed space. And originally, I'd hollowed this out, and I was like, I don't like the look of just stone back here, so I decided to expand my storage out. We've refactored a little bit, added a little bit more space. You can see that I've moved cinnabar, lapis, and emeralds to this corner. I've also added mossy cobblestone, and you can see that these 3 are the simple compacting drawers for more storage and also compaction. We also have some framed drawers, which I've guised in the like of nether bricks and netherrack. So we have triple compressed netherrack going over here. We have cobbled blackstone. We have cobalt obsidian, which is a lovely looking modded block. And then we also have nether quartz, which is in a simple compacting drawer, or a framed simple compacting drawer. Over here, which is where the stuff in the oak corner was, we have now added amethyst, amethyst shard, and basalt, and we still have our thorium over here. And I think that's just, sort of organized things a little bit better. We've also upgraded this to spruce diamond barrels. Before we just had iron, I believe, but thanks to JAMD, and this was really necessary for the rest of the project that we're about to go over, I needed to get there for a lot of gold, and, well, there was a lot of iron, a lot of gold, a lot of diamonds, and we could afford to upgrade these two, which is kind of a necessity once I show you how the whole system is actually going to work. Lastly, I've left the hole in the floor for the storage controller here because we are going to eventually add the end corner over here. We just haven't been to the end yet, so I didn't want to cover this up and then have to add 4 more drawers later, so that's just going to be a hole for now. Lastly, we are going to go over the functionality that I've been planning for a while. And let's see, I think we only need... No, we want a second minecart with chest. We want 2 of these minecarts because we are going down and back. And the first thing I want to do is load up one of these minecarts with the chest with these. We've got just 58 charcoal blocks, and we're going to send that down before us. So we're going to just push the button. And this is going to take a little bit of a while because I put the speed ramping in as well. But if everything works as intended, we should see it kind of pass us right when we get to the bottom, theoretically. And you get the idea. This is how the speed ramping is going to work. I've put in the ramping all the way down to the bottom, so I'm probably going to fast forward just a little bit. And I'm also going to make sure that the power levels are correct. And just as I'd promised, we did see that chest minecart go past us just now, and we are very close to the bottom. And now, because we are down at bedrock, I can't afford to be putting, redstone blocks down below, well, here. I mean, I could break the bedrock using some vanilla exploits, but that wasn't really necessary. So what I did was I put an activator rail here at the bottom because we don't want people to be riding this beyond this point. It's kind of like a do not enter machine processing onward kind of deal. So we put an activator rail here. It bumps us off in this dark stone area. I kind of wish it could put us on stairs, but unfortunately that's not how it works, and it was shunting me off of to the side pretty much, and I didn't want that, so I just, took the stairs that were here, moved them here, and now I get out here every time. Decorative iron bar trapdoors here. The Ember Bores startled me. But we've got some decorative iron bar trapdoors, and it's kind of got the lines going down like the tracks. We have changed the storage controllers here so that we have framed storage. It looks just a little bit nicer. This also saves on, piping and trying to figure out why things are going in or not going in. So I've got a controller access point over here for symmetry as well. The actual drawers are over here. And you can see that we've got one for the Ember shards, or I think these are the shards. We've got the dust, and then the whatever the larger ones are here. And yes, thankfully, they are going into these high throughput hoppers. And so basically, the way I've architected the system is that we can now send down a cart with flammable materials, or, fuel, whatever, and just send that ahead. It'll start processing, and then, as necessary, we can send down another cart with more fuel, and it will theoretically just pick up a few stacks of crystals and the like, and then deliver it up. So, theoretically, there's some good automation going on here. Because we've discovered the mining dimension mod, we don't necessarily have to actually use the mine for mining, which is silly, but we can still use it for exploration. And obviously we have the skeleton spawner down here, we've got a couple of kobold dungeons, and naturally we also have the Ember Bore. But those things are sort of pumping away, and what we're going to do here is wait for that to spin down. I'll send the next chest through just so we can show the pickup process, and then we'll go ahead and ride on up, which is a lot faster than riding down, so you'll actually get to see that whole journey theoretically. And actually, what I've just realized is that each of the the charcoal blocks that we sent in have a burn time of like 13 minutes or something like that, and half of 58 is 29? Yeah, so 29 times 13 minutes is several hours, and I definitely need to edit this. So never mind, we're gonna just send the cart through now, and theoretically that means we'll pick up some of these shards and the like, but I don't want to wait the whole time. Yep, so you can see those are disappearing, and because we've got the high throughput hoppers, it's picked up everything, and off it goes. Now, you'll notice there is one weird thing down at the bottom here. Because we are at bedrock, initially I was having some issues with the rail placement, and I, hadn't figured that out until I got back up to the higher floors, but I got frustrated with that, and because we're also down at bedrock, and we've got these hoppers right next to here, I can't put in the levers that I have on the higher levels. So, in order to get the full cross minecart experience or whatever, I put in a T-junction rail over here, because theoretically, you're not going to be taking a minecart all the way across, theoretically. So, you might put down a chest minecart over here, get it full, and then send it along, and it just defaults to going up, and same with the other side. But, I mean, maybe this is something that I want to put in on the other levels, maybe it's not. For now, we'll just go ahead and demonstrate how that works, and it's pretty straightforward. We're just going to coast around the side, and up we go. So that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified. And as always, I'm looking forward to your feedback in the comments below. And with that, I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks for watching, everybody. In the upper left is a video you might like, or the next video in the series. In the lower left is the series playlist, and on the right is my icon by which you can subscribe. Thanks again for watching.